Y'all, there is so much going on at work. Like, I literally have to turn off this phone. What is up, guys? It's Shay. Welcome back to the channel where we talk about beauty, nursing, and lifestyle weekly. I know a lot of you guys are new here, and I want to thank you guys so much for tuning into my channel. I'm going to give you a quick brief synopsis of what we're doing here. This is a final semester recap. I'm a nurse practitioner student. I began my nurse practitioner journey in fall of 2019, and I've completed my semester for fall 2020, which is semester 3 out of 6. So we're going to talk about the courses I took. We're going to talk about the challenges as well as the good options, and we're also going to talk about what's going forward for the next semester. I'm also going to give you guys a brief synopsis of what I'm doing over my break and how things are going. So if you're interested in any of this information, make sure you stay tuned and we will go ahead and get started. Alright guys, so I'm going to try to keep the recap very, very brief because I know most of you guys have been watching me during Vlogmas, so I've kind of give you tidbits of what has been going on in my semester. But for you guys who haven't seen Vlogmas, you are going to get the straight cut forward things without all the fluff that's in between. You guys know I always say that when I study, so it's just going to be, I gave y'all the textbook over the semester, and now I'm going to give you the highlighted portion that you need to study. So 2 courses, adult 1, well 3 courses, adult 1 didactic, adult 1 clinical, and also I had statistics. We're going to talk about stats first because honestly that is a very broad class. It's not really nursing related, but it did have some impact. I did end up with a good grade in that course. I did get an A. Basically what we did is we took heed to statistical information that might be important for nursing practice or nursing research. We did do a project in our class that focused on how nurses and healthcare workers versus people who are not healthcare workers are comfortable with everyday life in relation to the pandemic. Very, very good idea, very, very good information that we acquired. And I was happy to, you know, have a part in that project, and we had to write a paper on it at the end of the semester, and it went good. So that was it in a nutshell. Alright, so let's talk about the real tea. The real tea was adult 1, y'all. So adult 1 was an introduction, or basically you taking all the information from patho, pharm, and assessment and bringing it together to focus on the care and the treatment plan of your patient. So this course was supposed to focus a lot on women's health, and it was very tough, guys, because we focused a lot on women's health and we talked a lot about women's health, but then we talked about other things, but then we bounced back to women's health. So it was very, I think everybody was just trying to get acclimated with what we were supposed to do, especially with the pandemic going on right now. Like I told you guys, my professor was wonderful, but we did hit a hiccup at the end of the semester because unfortunately what we planned to study for was not exactly what was on the exam. And this is one thing that if I haven't told you guys already on my channel, I want you to know. When your professor gives you an outline for what's going to be on your exam, just be mindful that they're doing you kind of a favor, and you actually are still responsible for all the information you learn, especially if they tell you that that test is cumulative. I'm not going to sit here, you know, us YouTubers, we get on here, we tell you guys the study tips, we tell you guys what to do, and any study tip I give you guys is golden. It has worked for me, but when I don't apply what I'm preaching to you, then it's not going to work for me either. So just be mindful of that, but also be mindful, we sat here, we studied for the final exam. I got the final exam. I did do well on it. I did pass, and I did end up passing the course with a B. I was hoping for an A, but unfortunately, you know, the hiccup that I hit not only in the middle of the semester, but also kind of at the end did bump me back to a B, and I do have to be accountable for what happened with that. Before we talk about clinical, I do want to also mention to you guys that I did find a resource that was very helpful for me when it came to getting ready for the final exam, and I almost forgot about it. I did purchase the LEAP book, and I have it here with me today. I think last time I talked to you guys I had to put a picture up, but I did have it with me today, and I have actually been peeking in this book even during my break. There's a lot of resourceful information. I also find that this reminds me a lot of when I was in nursing school of Saunders. Not the same author or anything that I know of, but the way that I tell you guys, when I had the Saunders book in RN school, it took out all the fluff that was in between, and it hit those key points that I needed to know, not only for the exam but also for practice. I did not open the online questions yet because I need to find out from someone if I open them now will I still be able to use them when I prepare for my exam. So I have some research to do about that. I also did find a YouTuber on here that gives you a lot of information about FNP school. It's FNP Bree. I will try to tag her down below, but I was able to watch some of her videos even recently during this break time that I've had and get a lot of information about what I should be doing during FNP school, what to prepare for like as I get towards the end and things like that. So when it came to clinical, there was some hiccups in the road as things begun. We had to get all our things straightened together because, you know, the pandemic had just kind of got to an easy point in the beginning. So we kind of went back and forth on when we were going to start. My clinical, we had to complete a total of 168 hours for this semester, but it was recommended that you try to achieve more hours than that as you could because you might need those hours later. Most nurse practitioner programs do require, if I remember this correctly, 500 hours total for you to sit for boards, and I think 600 hours is usually which is recommended. So I will put, if I have the information down here, but I believe that's what you know, according to the board and everything like that. So we had a total of 168 hours for this semester to complete. I was able to hit my hours. Mid-semester I was quarantined, and you guys will see that video up in the cards above. So I did have to make sure I banged out hours to make up for it, and thank God I was also planning and doing extra hours in the beginning. So that's another thing I always tell people: sit down and figure out how many hours you need. We needed 168 hours for the semester, but they said that we needed a total of they would recommend that you go over the hours so you could have some hours to, you know, overflow. I was making sure when I looked at the hours, I needed at least 12 hours a week, and most of the weeks I was capping at 16. So that helped me when I hit that hiccup because I was able to, you know, deal with whatever happened while I was on quarantine, come back and finish my hours and still be well over with the hours that I needed for the semester. My preceptor was an FNP. She family practice. Primary care is where we were located. What I did as I seen patients throughout the semester, I was supposed to log my hours, and we used the program Typhoon. I never say it right. So I would go in and I would chart on patients that I seen. You didn't have to do every single patient, but I think the synopsis was you were supposed to see at least one patient an hour. I was usually seeing maybe 2 or 3. So what I would do is I would chart on the people who stood out the most and try to chart on as many like unique cases as possible. So example, when we had our first PAP, even though I only observed, I still charted on that because that's going to help towards women's hours. If we seen anybody under the age of 18, I charted, but I think in order for it to be considered children, it had to be under 12. So I'm not positive on that, but we still will have a peds rotation that I will need in order to actually meet that pediatric component of the FNP. I was able to complete the semester out without the pandemic hitting crazy. The pandemic really got bad towards the end of the semester, but thank God I had already hit my hours, so I did really not have any issues. Now going into my next semester, I am going to be with my same preceptor, guys. She was willing to take me back, and my school said it was okay, especially because she sees a diverse population, and she also works at quite a few clinicals, so it's not like I would always be in the same spot, but I also would be seeing different patients with her too. And it was still complete with the hour requirement is for the next course that we're taking, which focuses on the adult at a middle age. So not younger kids, not women's health, not older adults, but middle age adults. I think is supposed to be what adult 2 focuses on. So I'm going to be with her again. I already kind of have my clinical schedule out, and I'm just a little concerned because things are really getting bad again, and I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit more about that also when we talk about what I'm doing over my break. So overall, courses completed, I ended up with 2 A's and a B. I completed all my clinical hours, thank God. There were, like I said, hiccups in the road. The best things that I learned from this semester, of course, were prioritization. I also learned that with my study habits, sometimes you not only have to switch out not necessarily your habits, because everything that I was studying, I think I told you guys, like when I studied for this class, Adult 1, I focused on clinical presentation, diagnostics, and treatment. And those were the main things that helped me. Like, what do I need to know how the patient will present? What are key signs that the patient will present with? What are, you know, things, labs, tests I can run to confirm this diagnosis? Change it from a, you know, working diagnosis or create a working diagnosis from a differential diagnosis, which means I take a list of everything it could be, and I do tests and diagnostics and assessments to narrow down what it will actually be. And then after I do that, when I have a confirmed diagnosis, how am I going to treat the patient? And you are pulling in information from patho, you're pulling in information from pharm. Like, I'm talking about treatment plan. I'm not only focused on how I'm going to treat the patient, but when you do the treatment plan, what are the patient's other comorbidities? What other medications are they on? If I'm prescribing a med, can they take it with the other med? Is there a black box warning or a reason they cannot take that med? Like, there is a lot you have to focus on. It's not just clear cut. It's not just check boxes. It is treating that patient as who they are. They are one patient. Every patient is not going to be a cookie cutter patient, but you do have to know what the guidelines say. What do the guidelines say on how to treat this patient? What do the guidelines say on how to treat that patient? Especially since we focused on women's health, it was a lot of how do you treat the pregnant patient? How do you treat the patient that's breastfeeding? So those are all things that we had to consider too in this course. I also learned that I had to switch up my study environment, which was very weird. Like, studying at my desk, sometimes I would have to go study at like my tabletop island. It was a lot, guys. It was just a very weird semester, and it's hard because now that I reflect back on it, I almost feel like I can't remember even going through the motions because the semester went so quick and it was so freaking busy, guys. Like, it was no joke. And I don't know how I managed to get everything done, but I did. So if you guys ask me for any tips for you in FNP school in general, like I said, it would be to prioritize. It would be to make sure you use your planner. I did hit another issue where I also forgot to do an assignment, which was a very important assignment. So it's one thing to have a planner, but you have to use it. We can have all the calendars and all the planners in the world, but if we're not looking at that thing day in and day out, you're not going to be able to stay on track because there's so much things you need to do to get through the semester. So upcoming next semester, things I focused on, I got a better planner that is not so busy as my last planner, and maybe I will show you guys that really quick. Or actually what I do plan to do is I plan to do a plan with me. So I'll show you guys what planner I had before and what planner I have now and how I think it will be efficient in the next semester. I'm also going to, continuing studying is a continuing process. It's not a cramming process. You have to do a little bit each day, and you have to make sure you're not only absorbing the information, but you're retaining the information and you can apply it. So those are like things that are very important. You have to squeeze study time in where you can get it. I was on this set mode of, oh, I study on this day and I study on that day and this is what I do, and that doesn't always happen. So where I see free time fit, I'm still going to plan my study time, but I'm going to make sure that, after I get done a lecture, do I have 30 minutes or an hour to go back over what the teacher did, go through my textbook and pull out what I didn't understand and make sure I can apply it, so when we get into the next lecture, I'm not behind trying to focus on what we learned before. So basically everything that I told you guys that I learned from the last semester is what I'm going into adult 2 with. Now, clinicals is going to be a challenge again because things are getting really, really bad. I'm going to start a week early, but I didn't want to cut my break too short because I'm also picking up time at work. You guys know I'm a registered nurse and I work at the hospital. The pandemic is getting bad. It feels like it's worse than it was in March. So I want all you guys to make sure you're out here, you're being safe, you're practicing your social distancing and hygiene, and it's very imperative. I'm seeing a lot of younger people, unfortunately, and it's getting scary. I don't even know how to put it in words. As I told you guys in the beginning of the video, my phone is constantly blowing up about exposures, about coworkers, about where people have to go. We're not all working in our usual unit. You guys know I work on a cardiac tele floor. I haven't seen a cardiac tele patient. Okay, I'll say it like this. I haven't seen a patient that's just strictly cardiac tele focused in a while. It's been a lot, so I'm really just trying to take care of myself during this break, take care of my mental. I've been trying to, and I think that's a lot of why I pulled school out of my brain real quick. I still need to remember my information, and I do even see as I'm practicing in the hospital, some of the things that I've learned from clinical are kind of meshing, and it's wow, I'm kind of evolving as a nurse, but still trying to, do my duties as bedside. So I hope this video wasn't too long for you guys. I basically wanted to just tell you guys about a recap of what happened last semester, what I plan for next semester, and what I'm doing over break. As I told you guys, I am working heavy. I've been picking up so many shifts at the hospital and just trying to help out during this pandemic, because not only are we seeing a shortage because, you know, there's so many patients and there's so many people sick, but there's also healthcare workers that are acquiring COVID and not able to be at work. So we kind of have to pick up the slack for us that are still working and try to do what we can do in order to, you know, get this thing done. So I don't know, guys, it's a lot, but make sure you're staying safe out here. If you're going to school next semester, you know, get ready. The time is right around the corner. As I filmed this, I said, oh my god, I already have to get ready for next semester, but we're taking it day by day. We're living it. We're doing it. I will see you guys in my next upload, and make sure you like and subscribe on your way out.